Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Moore, and I want to welcome you back to our Build a Better Brain seminar. Today we're going to talk about something that's absolutely amazing. We're going to talk the fact that nerves can heal. Nerve healing. I'm sure that this is amazing news for a lot of people, and it's actually probably pretty surprising news to most people, because I keep running across people that were told your nerves are not going to heal by some frump and some negative person who doesn't know the truth about healing. Nerves can heal. It's not me saying, it's the National Institute of Health that says if a nerve is not dead, it can heal. Now, they don't heal quickly. They heal about 1.5 millimeters a day. Some books say 1 millimeter a day. But they do heal. It's called Wallerian degeneration and regeneration. And so, yeah, that's a big word. We're going to try to tone down the big words for it. But let's get into it. You might remember we talked about the neuron itself. It had a cell body. And there's the nucleus with the DNA in it. And these little red dots, that's called Nissl bodies. And Nissl bodies are real simple. That's what takes the information from the DNA and makes proteins that you use as a neurotransmitter for the neural signals, or to make new nerve cells and nerve parts. And we go down here, there's the axon of the nerve, and we see these green things. That's the myelin sheath. That is a superconductive sheath. I like to tell people it's a picture of a coating on a wire that would charge up the wire, make the wire work faster. That would be the myelin sheath. Now, the myelin is made by these blue things called Schwann cells. And the Schwann cells make the myelin. You can also see the nerve is protected by a thin connective tissue, each nerve, called the endothelium. Now, let's talk about trauma. Physical trauma, chemical trauma, emotional trauma, degenerative trauma. I don't care how it is. That's a whole nother video. But trauma comes in and it damages the nerve. Sometimes it will cut through the endothelium. That's really bad, by the way. That's really bad. We're not going to talk about that. Sometimes it cuts through the axon itself. And sometimes it doesn't damage the axon itself, it just damages the nerve. And so what happens is a whole bunch of things I'm going to try to sum up in this little drawing here. What you can see is we had 5 areas of myelin sheath and 5 Schwann cells. What happens is the cell body swells up. You can see that. And the nucleus that was in the center goes to the periphery on the outside. The Nissl bodies that surrounded the nucleus, they go and they kind of cluster into the nucleus around it. The nucleus then sends something called messenger RNA to the Nissl bodies, and the ribosomes, the Nissl bodies, they make proteins that will go to the cell to restore the broken down tissue. But what's called Wallerian degeneration and regeneration. What's the degeneration part? Well, you can see here that we're missing this part of the axon all the way from here to here. It's missing. So you absorb, but to get the injury here, we absorb tissue all the way up to this myelin sheath, that area there. Actually, the trauma should have been drawn right here, because we're going to absorb this guy right there. And we're going to break this off here, and with these guys here, they're going to go away, and we're going to wind up with this empty space right there. Now, the proteins that were made, they come out and they just find these neural fibrils. That's what comes across that connect what's called proximal, the part of the neuron by the cell body, to the far away part, the distal part of the axon. So you get these fibrils forming across, and the Schwann cells act as like a guard to direct them so they don't go all over the place. And if the neural epithelium is broken, this will come out and it won't reconnect to the end. And that's why when you damage the epithelium, that's not going to work so good for you in most cases. I never put a limit on the body, but the books have to tell you that. So if the endothelium is intact, we get these neurofibrils and they come across and they rebuild the axon. The Schwann cells that were there, they regenerate, and we rebuild the myelin sheath. Now that is extremely simple description of Wallerian degeneration and regeneration. but the nerve absorbs itself. Your immune system has something to play with this. Everything, there's a whole bunch of factors involved that are kind of a little interesting. But the big point is your nerves can heal, and that is an amazing point. And so what would be a great exercise to make sure that you're healing your nerves? Well, a great exercise is, again, to do something first. And that something could be just change things around. We want to work on our brain a little bit. How about if we want to stimulate this part of our brain, we move our fingers, we move our arms. And we just stimulate these areas there. We rub them, we touch them, we go like this. We're just going to go, we're going to get this part of our brain. We're going to improve blood flow to this part of our brain, the middle cerebral artery. And that is directly linked to the blood flow in my hands. When I stimulate these nerves in my hands, I stimulate that part of my brain, so my brain gets better blood flow. If I want to, stimulate the whole thing, I'm going to do some frontal lobe exercises, and that could be just simply fixating on something. We've talked about that exercise before. But just move around, move your hands. We're going to do this exercise here. And I like to call it going down and back. Go down your fingers and then come back up. Down and back. And you're going to do this with both hands. If you have to look at your hand, that means your parietal lobe's not working that great because you don't know what your hand is doing. So you want to be able to do this without looking at your hand. So that's a little exercise you do. So now you're going to stimulate your frontal lobe, and you are going to stimulate your brain and blood flow to your body. Now when I stimulate my right hand, it's the left side of my brain. I made a mistake saying this side, but it's going to be blood flow over here. So that's a great exercise to do. We call it neurokinetic accuracy. I call it going down and back. And you can do this throughout the day. You can do it while you're a passenger in a car. Don't do it while you're driving the car. But the most important thing I want you to learn today is that your nerves, they can heal. And that is amazing amazing news for people with nerve problems. So we help people all the time. So I'm Dr. Robert Moore. I want to thank you for watching this. Please like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have any questions, call or text 810-374-0304. We'd love to talk with you, and write your comments below on how we can improve these videos. And until next week, God bless you. Have an awesome day.